a few more people come in, but we want to make sure we give everyone a good chance to ask their questions. Of course, allow our two candidates to have a chance to speak as well. My name is also the President of the Chamber. I want to thank everyone for coming out. It's a beautiful day. I'm going to be short. I'm just going to quickly lay out some of the rules. Of course, I want to thank Dennis Fenske and Luke Robinson for coming out. This is our first of two debates the Chamber has. The next one will be on October 1st for the councillors, same place. I believe we also have something being put on by CHTM and also by Toastmasters. With this debate, the rules are very simple. Each candidate will have 3 minutes to speak about their platform. After that, we're going to open it up to everyone to ask questions. We have a microphone just right in the corner there. If you could please line up there. It's a lot easier than me trying to run around trying to see who raise their hands first or whatever. So each candidate will get up to 2 minutes to answer the question. We're going to alternate. Questions are to be asked of both candidates, so we're not allowing a question just to one candidate. And we'll have 2 minutes at the end to wrap up. I would ask everyone if they can turn their cell phones off and just more or less when we have our candidates speaking to try and not have any noises going on so everyone can hear clearly. Once again, thank you for coming out. And we want to thank also Tom O'Brien from CHTM. He was the moderator last time for the Chamber. He will be in the game. He's going to be one that's going to keep an eye on the stopwatch. He brought his own stopwatch. That's the deal. So in saying that, I'm just going to pass it over to Tom.
Thank you, Oswald. Thank you, everybody, for coming out. It's always nice. This is part of the political process, is to allow people to ask questions, to get the issues out onto the table and have a discussion during the campaign period. So certainly we're grateful that we have two candidates in this election this time. It's important, I think, for a community to have that, and our hats go off to both Dennis and to Luke for seeking the mayorship of our community. So thank you for coming out. We have flipped the lucky coin, and the lucky coin actually went to Dennis, so he is going to start this with his opening remarks. They have 3 minutes to make their opening remarks, and then we will move on to the questions.
Thank you, Tom. First off, I'd like to thank the Chamber of Commerce for sponsoring this event, and Mamawitak Friendship Center for hosting, and also to Tom for moderating the event today. My name is Dennis Fenske. I'm running for mayor, currently deputy mayor for the city of Thompson. First-time councillor, spent the last 4 years with city council. Previous to that, I spent 19 years with the city of Thompson in administrative functions, starting in the recreation department, moving over to city hall, and then moving on to valet in 2007, where I'm currently the engineering support supervisor for the capital projects and engineering group. A little bit of family history. Like many of us, long-time residents. My family came up in 1961. Mom and dad with kids in tow, farming from Saskatchewan, coming up for a couple of years while farming turned around, and they ended up staying 24 years. They raised all of their kids through Thompson, and I left in 1975, play a little hockey and get some education. Came back in 1988 with my family to raise my family in Thompson. I have 2 girls, Allison, currently a lawyer in Winnipeg with Thompson Dorf and Sweatman, and Kate is a nurse at the Brentwood Regional Health in the Emerge department. She just moved back recently this spring, and so she's making Thompson her home again. And on the weekend, I was recently married, and so we're moving forward. Lots of change in our life. As far as the platform, my slogan says it all. It's about leadership. This next 4 years will take a lot of leadership, because there are a lot of difficult decisions to make, and those decisions will affect our community over the next 5, 10, 15, 20 years and beyond. because we are a sustainable community. We just have to reinforce that. We are a growing community. With the recent signing of the Valley Agreement of 5 years, that's the first time ever for a 5-year agreement. That brings that stability that we've all been looking for. Anybody who's been here for any amount of time always knows the 3-year cycle. In business and planning anything, it's a 3-year cycle based on a contract. We want to move away from that. We want to be a broader community than that, and we're seeing that. We're seeing the development of UCN. We're becoming an education center. We're becoming a health center with Brentwood Regional Health. Business is booming. In a lot of cases, we still have some issues, but we're seeing development. We're seeing French school developed. We just saw $82 million spent on UCN, another $20 million spent at TRCC, another $12 million coming forward with the French school. And so the development is there, and the potential for Thompson is there. We are the hub of the North. We have to recognize that we are part of a region of 65,000 people. We are the trading center. And so we need to
20 seconds.
Sorry. We need to make sure we incorporate the region into our day-to-day operations. So again, the platform is straightforward. It's about leadership. We've got big decisions to make. I feel I'm the guy to do it. Thank you.
Thank you, Dennis. And now with his opening remarks, Luke Robbins.
Thank you, Tom. Tanzé, bonjour tout le monde. Welcome everyone to our debate. First of all, I'd like to thank our host, the Chamber of Commerce, for giving us the opportunity to speak to you about what we believe in and what we plan on doing for the community. I'd also like to thank Tom today for coming out to be our moderator. And I'd also like to thank Dennis for stepping forward. You know, I've been canvassing all summer, and I felt, you know what, I cannot get a claim. There has to be somebody else that can step forward, and I thank Dennis for doing that. You know, it gives people a choice. It gives the people a chance to ask questions, because if it hadn't happened, I wouldn't be here today. We wouldn't be sitting here having this debate, right? So I think it's important that everybody gets that opportunity to speak, and I will encourage everybody to step up to the mic today and ask your questions. It's important to ask. If you don't ask, you won't find out what's going on. So a little bit about myself. I'm a resident of Thompson for the last 15 years. I came from Ontario, and I met the love of my life here in the first year I was here. I got a good career with Valley for the last 13 years. I've been a union activist for 12 of those 13 years, and it's been great. Excuse me. I'm a firm believer that everybody has rights. Everybody has a right to a safe workplace. Everybody has a right to have their voice heard. And that's what this is all about, right? Let's make sure about that. I'm also a board member on AMM for the last year, representing the voices of northeastern Manitoba. That's from Thompson up to Churchill to Lynn Lake. I represent those voices on that board. We meet once a month. I have 4 children, great kids, brand new grandson. We love him to death. You know, we miss him a lot. As grandparents, we do that. You know, that's part of our family. I'd like to move on to my platform. I want to speak about the fact that there's some ongoing issues, and there's some issues that will never go away. Some of those issues we have to work towards. The homeless situation we have in our community. We have to stop enabling the problem, and let's help our neighbors. Let's make sure that they have those avenues and raise the standards. We got to make sure those standards are applicable to all residents of Thompson, everybody included. That has to be at the first and foremost important part of what we do. We got to care about each other. It's all about helping each other out. That's why I'm here today. That's why Dennis is here today.
20 seconds.
We want to help our community. So let's make sure to ask those questions today, and don't be shy. At any time, I'm approachable. You can talk to me about anything at all, and I will listen to what you have to say. Thank you.
Oh, we're off to a great start. They both kept it under 3 minutes. That's great. So now this is your turn. So there's a lot of people here. I'm assuming some of you have some questions, some things that you're thinking about. I don't know who wants to be first, but whoever does, you can make your way to the microphone there. Pose your question. candidates will do their best to provide an answer. We're giving them each 2 minutes to do that. Everybody just came to see what somebody else wanted to talk about. Except for Ozzy. Way to go.
I'll just start off, hoping to get, this is a chamber question. How would each candidate go about trying to increase the attractiveness of people coming to open up businesses or start businesses in Thompson?
Okay, I'll go first.
Okay.
Okay, thank you, Oz. That's a very good question. First of all, we have to make sure that our community is attractive. By doing that, we have to ensure that when people do come to our community, first impressions are always the most important, right? Let's work on that. Let's make sure that the avenues are there for businesses to prosper and make sure that we don't try and shun them away. One example would be the sale of land. Right now we have a two-tier system when it comes to sale of land where commercial property is sold for a lot more than residential or industrial. That is not an attraction. If we had a big box store wanted to come to Thompson, the very first thing you want to do is buy land. And if that is going to be the stickler at the front door, well, it's not going to happen. They're going to be going to look elsewhere. Thank you.
Thanks for the question, Ozzy. In regards to attracting businesses, I think Luke is right in regards to where do you start. You have to have a place to build. Land is definitely an issue. First, you need an inventory of land. We've recently, through negotiations with the province and Valet, gained additional land to develop in our community, 3 parcels of land, in fact. We do have a land sale policy. It's fairly straightforward, and it's tiered to promote investment. Basically, land is worth $6 a square foot. Depending on the type of investment you're doing, the magnitude of it, and the use of it, that can be scaled down based on your investment. So you can get it down to a cost of $2 or $3 a square foot, depending on your investment. So that's an encouraging way to bring people and businesses to our community. The other thing is that you have to create a positive environment, and in regards to the downtown, we are working towards solutions, definitely. This past year, we've had our own bylaw officers in place, we've had the ambassador program in place, we've had super cooperation from the RCMP. First impressions are lasting, we understand that, but this is an issue that's not going to go away overnight, and so you have to work towards proactively dealing with the issue up front, but also dealing with the root causes. And so that's how you get into affordable housing. That's where you get into assistance through the social agencies in our community, but there are also enforcement because there are standards that have to be kept in our community. So that's the second way to do that. And the other one that other communities are using, we haven't used it very often, but we should certainly look at it. In other communities, a lot of the businesses, we look at tax incentives where it's deferred taxes or things like that. We haven't gone down that road yet, but I would certainly be open to that to attract business to our community. Thank you.
Thank you. Perhaps as people move to the mic, if they could just identify themselves just for the benefit of everybody else and ask the question.
Hi, my name is Erica McCarthy, and my question today is something that I hear is on a lot of people's minds. If you are for the casino, how do you believe it's going to integrate with our community and how is it going to play out? Location affecting the community. If you are against the casino, what are your plans to stop it?
Two questions.
We'll begin with Dennis this time.
Thank you. Good question. In regards to the casino, I'd like to lay out some facts first in regards to the letter that was circulated, the questions that have been asked. Up front, I'm in favor of development. Whether it's casino development or other development, I'm in favor of development. You first have to hear the development to understand what the parameters are before you form a position and say, no, we don't want this, black and white. The letter I wrote on behalf of the Thompson Golf Club, which I am the president of, which the membership was approving of the letter to send to Grand Chief Nepenak on the announcement that between the province of Manitoba, AMC, and NCN, Nelson House, a casino license would be awarded, and it would be located in the Thompson area. That's the fact. The City of Thompson is not involved at all in any way in that negotiation, other than once a site is decided, if it's within city limits, then someone has to come to the City of Thompson and talk. The Thompson Golf Club perspective was, look what's happening at Dakota Dunes in Saskatoon. Look what's happening in Yorkton and the development that comes out of that. Here's an opportunity. The golf club needs to be improved. We're lacking membership. It's like curling. It's like all of the smaller groups. We're dying. We need a boost. Here's an opportunity to develop with AMC and NCN. And the letter specifically said, we currently operate a 9-hole course 3 kilometers north of the city. It's our understanding that the casino development project is in the planning process and that a site selection review will be part of the process. At our annual general meeting last evening, the board and members endorsed sending a letter to your organization asking the Thompson Golf Club site be considered in your site selection process. End of letter. This letter was circulated to Mayor and Council through the baskets and also to Nelson House because they are also a partner in the agreement. Thank you.
I'm pretty sure most people in this room know I'm opposed to casino. I'm not opposed to development, but we got to make sure that when it comes to a casino, if you look at the revenue base that will come out of that casino, it's not going to this community. It was made very clear by Grand Chief Nepenak that those funds are going outside of this community. That is the sole purpose of putting a casino in our community. It's not to help the community here. The few revenues that may be created through jobs from this casino will be very little compared to the fallout that it will create. And let's remember, you can't take from Peter and give to Paul and expect to get more. It's just not going to happen. If you look downtown right now at the VLTs and take a count, you will see who's actually putting the money into the VLT machines and how many people are struggling to try to find a ride home, or their first stop is the VLT machine before they go do grocery shopping when they come out on the winter roads. So it is not a plus. The very little gain you're going to get, there's a larger loss following in behind. And that was made very clear by Mr. Nepenak, that it's not for us. It's to help the northern communities struggle with their addictions and their problems. And you know what? At the end of the day, you can't make more money with no money. I'm sorry, it just doesn't work. Thank you.
Thank you. Have a question?
Hello, my name is Mark Armitage. I just have a question about affordable and healthy food access within the city, what the city's doing for that.
Affordable food access. Thank you for your question.
Okay. Thank you. Just to be clear, affordable food.
Affordable and healthy food access for the community.
Okay, that is a very good question. You know, there's been many programs out there where that has been challenged, and it has failed for one reason. People get the education on how to grow their own food, but when it comes to the fruits of your labor, because we live in the northern climate here, the season for growing is very short. So for some people, it can be very discouraging to put that kind of labor into growing their own, and at the end, find out that it was cheaper just to go buy it at the store, or the frost came too early and destroyed their crops. As for healthy food choices, I agree. We definitely got to have more healthy food choices out there, and that includes our northern neighbors. It's hard to understand that a case of Pepsi is cheaper to buy than a jug of milk in our northern communities. You know, you're right. It needs to be more balanced because our children and our futures, their health is at stake here because those choices aren't out there because they're not affordable to them. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes.
Thank you. I believe the question was about access in regards to healthy food and affordable food. And part of that access is having things like freight rates looked at, because the cost of getting food to the north, we live in the north, it's 750 kilometers from Winnipeg. That's a fact. The fact that we have to transport all of that produce and others up to Thompson is a cost. It's a big cost. And one of the ways to decrease that cost is increase competition. Most recently, we sold a piece of property to a trucking firm who's going to open a terminal here, which will provide competition within the north, which will ultimately lower freight rates to those that have to bring food in. In the past, the City of Thompson has lobbied the federal government through the Canada Post program to delivering foodstuffs to the remote areas, the fly-ins, where they're paying $10 and $12 for a gallon of milk. So the City of Thompson lobbied on that behalf to have those rates lowered. We'll continue to make sure that we are a voice for the north. We are a region of 65,000 people. So we will continue to be that voice, making sure that everyone, not only in Thompson, but the surrounding region, because they are our neighbors, they are our businesses, they are our people coming in and taking advantage of what's in our community. So everything we can help to help the region is a help for Thompson. They do well, we do well. We do well, they do well. It's that simple. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions? Yes.
Hello, I'm Leslie Tucker. My question is for both, but specifically to Mr. Robinson. I have in my hand Thompson citizens from the extreme cold weather policy when it was put through the City Council on January 21st of last year. At that meeting, and I quote, you voted against it, and you said, what's going to stop these people from going there during the day? You're introducing a population that has been a problem downtown to a new area. Anyone can go there during the day and just wander in and out. And then I just read the citizen, I think it was the last one, where you wanted to extend the time that the homeless people could go there. My question to both is, what is your current, right now, position on the extreme cold weather policy that Thompson has initiated?
All right, so we understand the question, and we'll begin with Dennis.
Thank you. The cold weather policy was brought in through the Public Safety Committee in consultation with other groups, the shelter being one, CMHC being one. And that policy was to open up the outdoor rink facilities after hours in extreme cold weather. In the past, as you all know, we've lost some of our residents to the cold weather, and we didn't want to see that happen again. So the proposal was to open the outdoor rink facilities, which aren't used at that time, this was after 10 p.m. at night and before 7 a.m., to those organizations who could transport and get people out of the cold. It's not a hotel, it's not a bed and breakfast, it's basically out of the cold. Rather than sitting in a bush or a garbage can, it's out of a building, or into a building, so that they can at least get through the night. Because this past year, we all witnessed it. It was extreme cold weather. So we advocated for this. There was heavy debate at council on that, and some councillors debated against it, and some for it. At the end of the day, we put it in place, and throughout this last winter, there were around 650 people went through the outdoor rink facilities. We didn't lose anybody. We didn't lose anybody, and that's the goal. It's about caring in this community for those who can't care for themselves. That's a caring community. That's an inclusive community. That's what I stand for.
Thank you for that question, Leslie. So first part of the question is you asked about why people would be going there throughout the day. And through my research after the change was made, talking to the attendants, people were actually showing up before the time that they should have been there. So we were creating a hazard already, which was something I had already foreseen would happen at the end of the day. So to answer that question, the reason I didn't support it is because, you know what? We had a fruitful exercise before that. where funding was cut from the program because a group moved away from it, thinking it wasn't a very successful program for them. So when that funding was cut, the plan was 12 hours a day, and the other 12 hours we closed. So when that happened, I went around and I did a study of my own. I went to the malls. Nobody there. Security guards were actually bored. I went to ask the RCMP, no more incarcerations. I went to see the EMS. They haven't picked up anybody with frostbite or hypothermia. There's no more increased numbers. Went checked at all the other businesses, and it was pretty quiet. So where did they go? They found homes to go to, or some of them actually went home. So that's where we have to go. That's the direction we don't want. I don't want nobody more than you do to be outside in the cold at minus 30, minus 40, minus 25 for that matter. I did stand outside when we had that exercise for the public to come and feel what it was like to feel the cold. I was there. I participated. So to answer the last question, yes, I do believe the problem is still there. So it's not going to go away tomorrow, but let's make sure that we do take care of the problem today. But we got to be making sure that at the end, we are finding better solutions. Today's solution is just enabling the problem. It's not helping it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for the question. Donna?
My name is Donna Wilson, and I'm wondering if you feel we need more RCMP and the need for emergency calls to the RCMP to be answered in Thompson. I've called with an emergency and was put on hold without even asking if it's an emergency. Machine answered and said we're going to put you on hold. I don't remember the exact words, but it was an emergency. We waited for 20 minutes, hung up, and called the fire department, and they came to our rescue, and they also told us that they had been trying to reach the RCMP that day, and they were having difficulty. Also, another time I called, and I believe it's answered in Brandon, and they didn't know the address of the bridge, so they couldn't help me. I'm panicking because somebody's going off the bridge, and I don't know the address to the bridge. I just know it's our bridge.
Thank you.
Thank you, Donna, for that question. Actually, that is a very good question. I feel, it goes deeper than that. It goes to the point that our RCMP are busy with everything, including providing service to our neighbors to the north and south and all around us. They are taxed with a lot of work. A lot of that work, we felt that, as a council, we'll bring in bylaw enforcement. But that hasn't worked. Bylaw enforcement is actually going and notifying businesses there's something happening in the home over there. You need to call the RCMP. You need to take care of that over there because something's going on over there. I've had a complaint from a citizen that something's going on here. Instead of dealing with it and actually doing what we're paying them to do, right? So the other part of that puzzle is, what is the standard that is acceptable for the citizens of this community? We've set the bar so low on I can't even see it on the floor, it's that low. We need to raise the bar. If things are happening, there shouldn't be a two-tier system where you can afford to pay the fine, but you can't, so we'll let you go, but we won't let you go. That's where some of the problems are coming from, is the accountability. We need to have that accountability where everybody is treated equal. We're all equals. We're all in this community together. We're a big family. We're supposed to be an extended family. And I do understand what you're talking about, the RCMP, and we need, as a council, as a chair of the council, and as a leader of the council, we need to come up with solutions to make sure that they are doing what we are paying them to do. The other things that are happening, that's who we hire to do those jobs and make sure those jobs are being done. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. I believe the major part of that question was in regards to the RCMP officers. Currently, we have 38 officers in our community. We used to have 2 more. It was a pilot program by the RCMP. that lasted, I believe, 27 months. That came to an end last March, and so we're down to our normal 38. Through the billing process, this past year we were billed for 34 officers. That means that people were away either in court or away on maternity leave or on other assignments. So our actual bill was for 34 officers. And I agree on one hand in what Mr. Robinson said in regards to the RCMP should be doing the work that we pay them to do. We are totally at the opposite ends in regards to how to get there. In regards to the community safety officers, which morphed out of the Prairie bylaw into our own bylaw officers into what's coming through the legislation that was provided by the province of Manitoba this spring and in cooperation with the RCMP, we have been selected as the City of Thompson to be the pilot project in Canada for the Community Safety Officer Program. And that will allow our community safety officers to enforce acts like the Liquor Control Act, like the municipal bylaws, that will assist in taking work away from the RCMP so that they can deal with more urgent matters, which they should. And so, of which Mr. Robinson doesn't support. I fully support that and hope to continue with our downtown strategy on the enforcement side of things. Thank you.
All right. Any other questions? Ozzy, you have another question? Sure. All right. Perfect.
Whoever's mayor is going to be dealing with about half their council will be new people, at least, if not more. How would you, as the main head of council, how would you work with your fellow council colleagues, some that will be perhaps return councils, some that will be new, in trying to be proactive? But the reason I ask that question is that at times if you have a fairly fractured council, not much work gets done. So how would you try to encourage cohesiveness within your ranks, council?
Thank you.
Thanks, Ozzy, for the question. It's a two-part question in regards to cohesiveness within council and the learning curve for new councillors. Obviously, by the slate of councillors that we have running, and I want to congratulate you all 18 of you, for stepping up and putting your name on the ballot. But there are 8 positions, so someone's getting in and someone's not getting in, and some will be new and some will be returned. But at the end of the day, whatever the mix is, we do have an excellent administration, starting with our City Administrative Officer, Gary Subtelli, who have a great education process for all new councillors. AMM also has workshops for new councillors across the province. So as I did, and as Mr. Robinson did, as other new councillors did at the beginning of the last term, we went through that process. We also sat down as council and said, what are we doing over the next 4 years? What's our plan? And we did the flip charts with everyone in the room, with administration and council, talking about what the plan was for 4 years. So there is an education process, of which the first year, and the election is in October, budget starts in November. We got to have it ready by February, March, finally into the province by May 15th. So it's a quick learning curve. But I fully support the administration we have. We have an excellent staff who are very accommodating to all councillors who wish to engage with our administration. On the second part, the elephant in the room, the fractured council, yes, we had a fractured council over the terms. Sometimes it happens that way, sometimes it doesn't. Unfortunately, this time it did, after about year 1, year and a half. But basically, the work still gets done. So from my perspective, we are 8 councillors and a mayor. I'd like to see everybody pull their own weight, and we'll see what happens from there. Thank you.
Thank you, Oz, for that question. Strategic planning, I agree. That's the way to do it. You have to start with a plan. What is our goal for the next 4 years? That's got to be the most important part. The next part is we have to, as leaders, recognize everybody's strengths. There are 9 people around that table. Normally, they all have a profession or some sort of expertise they bring to the table. We have to make sure we utilize that expertise to the best of their abilities, that they can help council make a good, solid decision. Inclusion is always the most important part. It's important that everybody knows what's going on at all times. Now, for new councillors, it's important that they understand format and the process. That when it's your turn to speak, you speak what you have to say. When others are not speaking, they should be paying attention. Texting and doing other things, scribbling while they're listening to others, that's not productive. That's just rude, and it's not courteous. You can't hear what somebody is saying if you're busy doing something else. So on top of that, it's important that every member of council has the opportunity to lead a chair of a committee. That is so important, you know. It helps them develop speaking skills, listening skills, which is always very important. You can't hear what somebody's saying if you're talking. And at the end of the day, everybody will learn something new and have the opportunity to have their say. We work for you. We are the employee. All of you taxpayers are our employers. We answer to you. That's the bottom line. We're not there for ourselves. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you. Mr. Ritson?
My name is Wally Hitson. Thank you both for running. It's wonderful to have a choice and to have as many people as we have running in all capacities this term. We talked about how the trucking firm is coming to town, and that's great news. But what about all the vacant buildings that we have for businesses? The old Staples building, all the malls have open areas. Some of the malls are dismal and have very little business at all. What can you do, or we do as a city, to help solve that problem and get businesses to fill those buildings?
Thank you, Wally, for that question. Actually, I was hoping somebody would ask that question today. The Chamber of Commerce is about business. I applaud every business person in this room that has taken the chance and the risk to invest in our community. We will not make it without you. You are all the pillars that hold this community together by being able to go from day to day with the needs we have. When we talk about buying locally, it's so important to buy local because at the end of the day, the ones who think that they're buying online or that they're buying down south because they got a better deal, never factor in the fact that they have to travel away from our community to go spend it somewhere else. It doesn't help our economy. It doesn't help you as the business. You all have overhead. You pay taxes to this community. You provide a service. And yet, I want to touch also on the fact that when it comes to our RFP policies, when it comes to business, business should always have an advantage of some sort. To say that, oh, it has to be an equal playing field across the board because we want to keep it fair. What about the person from down south that brings employees here who send their money south? They don't buy homes here. They don't pay taxes here, but yet you do. So it's not fair to you to take that risk and have people show up elsewhere. So it's very important that we make sure that we have policies that help you survive and strive to make a better future. You are also providing jobs for our citizens of this community and a service that's valued. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you for the question. In regards to business, we're speaking to a predominantly business room. I'm a businessman. I own DAC Developments, currently developing a second 8 multi-use, multi-unit family unit. And so I've invested in this community. I know what it takes to invest and risk. We all have risk that we assume, and we all have some faith that it's going to come through, or you wouldn't put your money into a project. So I applaud all the businesses that are here that have stood fast through the ups and downs, and that continue to invest in our community. I'm investing, and I'll continue to invest in this community. From the City of Thompson's perspective, you have to be, provide opportunity, whether it's through land sales or whether it's through tax deferrals or things like that. Those are things that we can do as a city, as a government. As far as getting into the day-to-day business of business in regards to a specific business, that's not the role of municipal government. The role of municipal government is provide opportunity through the city of Thompson and what we have control of. Encouraging business to come here, make land available, make policies available that attract businesses. As far as the shop local, we have to do it legally. There are legal ramifications of what you can and cannot do in setting policy. So you need to do your homework. You can't arbitrarily say, if you're not from here, we're not buying. You can't do that. You have to have a fair, equitable program in place. And so that's what the city of Thompson can do, is promote investment, providing investment opportunities in regards to land, but also to make sure that Thompson Unlimited, which is the economic arm of the city of Thompson, continues to promote and develop business in our community, as they have and as they will continue to do. Thank you.
So there's actually two questions there. So one is back to the call center from the RCMP, so we'll deal with that one. And then since we don't have a long lineup of people, we'll deal with the second part of that as a second question. So that's the RCMP.
Thank you. In regards to the RCMP, we used to have the telecoms here in the city of Thompson. It was transferred a number of years back down south. There are some issues with that, and I can speak to Donna's issue that she had. I had the same issue myself. I was sitting in front of the post office. There was an incident. I'm sitting in my vehicle. I phoned 911, and I get someone in Brandon, and they're asking for the address of the post office. I don't know the address. I'm looking at it. It's about 300 feet from the RCMP building. And so I said, just get somebody over here. And within a minute and a half, someone was here. As far as the process, the way it's explained to us is that it's a two-part process. The call comes in to telecoms. They're taking name, address, phone number information from a safety perspective, because unfortunately there aren't a lot. There are some people out there who do not like the RCMP and have set people up to be in an unsafe situation. So the telecoms is to make sure that this is a legit call and that they're responding to a legit call. So while they're taking that information down from you, name, address, phone number, there's already been a vehicle dispatched in the background to that call, if they have the address and if they have the information that they require. Because in many instances, police officers have been summoned to one area to prevent them from going to another area. So yes, it's an issue. It's frustrating. Bear with us. We're trying to work through it. Is telecoms coming back to Thompson directly? No. The province is not going that way. We will try to work the best we can to make the system work as it is. But there will be ongoing issues, but hopefully we'll get through them the best we can. But is telecoms coming back to Thompson? No, that's not going to happen.
Thank you, Dennis, for that question. Yes, you're right. RCMP, just for the public's information, I don't know how many know, that the RCMP has locked every community in Manitoba and across Canada actually into 20-year contracts. So that's called downsizing and cutbacks. So this is the ways government to try and think that they can save money by having somebody somewhere else give direction when they can't even be there. That'd be like, I don't mean to diss the radio station, but how many times have I heard somebody on the radio say, it's a beautiful day out there, and you look out the window and it's raining, right? It's just something that when you're somewhere else and somebody's calling from a long distance like that, they don't know. They don't have an idea of where you are, what's happening, what the emergency is. And it's true. There are times it's false information, just people playing, trying to do something different, trying to get around the facts of what's really happening. So we have to work on that, and there's a 911 system that's available to everybody. There is a cost attached to that, but what is the cost of safety? What is the cost of having accurate information where somebody's life could be at stake. It could be a grandparent, it could be a child, it could be an accident on the highway, that the help is sent. In the emergency services, the golden hour is where your life, surviving could be the difference between life and death, is 60 minutes when the body starts to shut down. Thank you. So it's very important that we think more closely at safety, and if it's worthwhile for us to actually have our own 911 in this community. Thank you.
Thank you. And just for the record, it's always a beautiful day in Thompson. All right, so the second part of that was, I guess, better communication between council and the city administration and some of the different groups in town that are hosting events and trying to make events happen and bring new events here. And, you know, are there things that can be done to improve that process?
Thank you, Dennis, for that second question. Recreation is always an issue in Thompson. We try and find people to promote, and then when people step forward, we seem to bog things down with bureaucracy. We gotta cut through the red tape. Things are happening. They're happening now. People come forward ahead of time, and if it doesn't seem to be the will of certain members, it doesn't happen. It gets choked up. We gotta stop that. We gotta make the process easier and more fluent so that when somebody wants to do something, if there's an event that wants to happen in 2 weeks, it's for the community, we should be making it happen. We shouldn't say, sorry, it has to go to committee, and the committee has to make a recommendation, and got to go to another committee, and I'm sorry, there's got to be an easier process. And that's how we encourage groups to come forward so they don't get discouraged and say, you know, what's the point of it? Really, what's the point of spending my time and effort and our groups to want to put something forward and just be bottlenecked or clogged up with red tape? It doesn't work. And when it comes to fees, Dennis, you're absolutely right. We are feed and permitted to death in this community. We are not encouraging people to do things properly, get the right codes for building something, because people know that at the end of the day, they have invested a major portion of their income to make things better for themselves. Just to be taxed again for more is just not reasonable. Thank you.
Thank you, Dennis, for the second part of the question. I spent 15 years in the Recreation Department with the City of Thompson. So I know firsthand about special events and how that's a business within our community. It's a business in other communities. For instance, the City of Brandon, probably about 15 years ago, and their mayor and administration recognized special events as a business, and they put money towards that in regards to promoting and developing and grants to get events, special events like curling events and hockey events and other arts and cultural events to their community. We do similar things here. I would question the comment in regards to the red tape and bureaucracy and stifling everybody. If you come to me as the recreation director and want to have an event in 2 weeks' time, and you haven't done much of your homework other than you want to have this event, there's a bureaucracy that's in place for a reason. It's called safety. And that's to make sure that everyone in the event is safe. And in some cases, there's a question of liability. By the city allowing something to happen, they're assuming liability, unless they can have someone else assume that liability. So the reason you have fees in place, the reason you have policies in place is doing your due diligence. We'll work with any group that comes to our community that wants to have an event, because we recognize that's a cash inflow to our community. That's a positive. But there are steps, there are rules. Unfortunately, they have to be followed to protect everyone, not only the event organizer, but also the City of Thompson and the participants. So it's a matter of doing due diligence. No one says, we don't want your event. The event we want a safe event, we want a prosperous event, we want events to occur again and again. So we encourage it. We just both have to do our homework. Thank you.
Thank you. Christopher?
Hi, I'm Christopher Blake from People First Council Chapter and Province of Manitoba for People First. I'm just wondering, when I have a very strong relationship with the Public Works Committee on Accessibility Act, and I have a very strong relationship with the Chamber of Commerce as well. What I'd like to know is, okay, there's 4 chapters in Manitoba. There's 2 in Winnipeg, 1 in Montreal, and here in Thompson. Thompson is the most active chapter out of all four chapters in Manitoba. What is your opinion about the relationship currently with People First, and what do you think of where the relationship is going in the future with our relationship with the city?
Okay.
Thanks for the question. It's a great question, and I want to point out the obvious. The reason that our chapter is the most active is because of you. You're the biggest advocate in this community for accessibility. I'd like to see that continue and grow. I think as a community we want to be inclusive, not only to our neighbors, but also in regards to handicap accessibility and all of those challenges that everyone has. And so we want to make sure that when we're putting in sidewalks, the ramps are at the right grade, at the right incline. We want to make sure that the doors open when they're supposed to open, close when they're supposed to close. We want to make sure that the snow is cleared on the walkways as they can, because wheelchair access is very important. So I want to see that grow. I want to see that continue, and I know that you'll push us as hard as you can, and I hope you do continue to do that. So I'm looking forward to more improvements city-wise, on an individual basis, on a business-wise basis, and also on the city-wise basis, on being more accessible. Thank you.
Thank you, Christopher, for that question. I'm a big supporter. You know, I've listened to you speak. You're a very motivational speaker. You have a powerful soul. You say what you mean, and you push forward and you drive for what you believe in. And you know what? That is very important. I wish more people would be like that. You know, and that's what we need in our community. We need to have that voice. And I would encourage you to participate as much as you can in our committees and voice that opinion. You know, bring those concerns forward. You bring a different perspective to the table that some of us may not know about, right? And you brought that up even at the door-to-door, Save Our door-to-door post office mail. You were very strong. You brought up some very good points about that. And that is very important for our community. That's called growth, and that's making sure that everybody's included. So my hat goes off to you for that. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you, Christopher. So I see 3 more people up there, and they also have closing remarks, so we're probably good for the rest of this hour, I would think. So we'll start with the next question. We can ask 3 more questions. So
I'm just wondering how, as mayor, you're going to increase the transparency between city council and the rest of the city, and how you're going to increase city awareness between 18 to 25-year-olds.
Okay, what was the second question?
How you're going to increase 18 to 25-year-olds participation or even awareness of the city. Because I know when I was 18, I had no idea who people were running for council or anything like that.
Okay, so for the first part, transparency, giving a good heads up, you know, having a little blurb in the paper. There are procedures and processes in place that say that this is the minimum that's required for public notice. We should never be looking at minimums. We should all be looking at maximums. Let's make sure people are aware ahead of time, whether it's through social media, whether it's through the media, whether it's through word of mouth, whether it's through a sign we have on the front lawn that is updated on a regular basis. It's important to make sure that people know what's going on and be at the table when the discussion is happening. Not later on, it's like, oh, we've reached a decision, this is what it is, people. And people don't have a say. The fact that we have a general inquiries question before council starts, that is a very important part. We need to grow on that. 10 minutes is not enough. People need to have their say before the decisions are made. And like you said, transparency is got to be key. There should be no surprises. When decisions are made, the public should have had a chance to know what's going on, other than issues that have to be kept under the Municipal Act, be kept behind closed doors until they can be made public. Those are there's very few items that can be done under that. Everything else has to be public discussion. Now, as for the second part, participation. I remember as a youth when I was 18, I couldn't wait to go vote. Like my parents, my uncles, my aunts, I come from a French culture where your right to vote is the most important thing you'll ever have. If you don't speak up, you don't have a right to say anything else later. You can't complain. So vote and complain. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for the question. In regards to the youth and communication, a couple things. One, I want to thank Councillor Aaron Hogan and Councillor Frenier for really being strong on the youth, the municipal councillor in regards to getting women involved in politics. We've had a youth on our council for the last 4 years, or 2 years, sorry, which really encouraged people to get involved in politics at a young age, and hopefully as they go through their careers will step up to doing this type of thing or getting involved in council or trustees involved in the community. Social media, that's, I'm 56, sorry guys. I'm working at it, I'm trying, my kids are trying, my wife's kids are trying, but the city has to be better at that. We do have a web page, we have Facebook, Twitter, we're not out there, but we will be out there. But I think that's what we really have to grow, because that's the age. We are a young community. We average 28 years of age. We are a very young community. So we really need to reach out to the youth of this community, to engage them and get involved. And that's how that's their weapon of choice. It's social media. So we need to adjust as a bureaucracy, as a community. We need to engage the youth. In regards to transparency, I think there's a lot of misinformation in regards to transparency. All of our committees are open meetings. Everyone in the public can come to the open meetings, with the exception of when we go in camera, and then only committee members and staff can go to those portions. But every committee meeting is open. All council meetings are open. All budget meetings are open. In regards to conveying information, we have a web page. We have ads in the paper. We have a sign out in front of the City of Thompson. But again, I've been at this for many, many years. If we have 10 people at a budget meeting, that's a big crowd. So it's up to the community to get involved. If you want information, ask. We have it for you. There's sites to go to, but just ask the question. Thank you.
Thank you. Next question. You could probably lift that up. Maybe. Or the microphone just comes off.
Hi, my name is Christopher Kurt. My question is, how do you feel about the subcommittees and making sure that all the information is getting out to everyone on council? And what would you do to keep the line of communication going on between the subcommittees and the board, basically, to keep it open where everyone knows what's going on exactly?
Thanks for the question. In regards to the subcommittee, we do, through the organizational bylaw that we have in place for the City of Thompson, have our committees structured in such a way that there's a chair that's appointed by the mayor each year, and then the rest of council votes for the remaining person to go on to that committee. In most cases, it's one other person. In some cases, it's 2 other people. So the committee structure is in place. It's legislated through the bylaw that we have. Again, the subcommittee meetings, whether it be public safety or public works or recreation, are all open to the general public. The minutes are captured and they are online for councillors, for all you future candidates out there. You will have access to a website called AllNet, where you have complete access to all the minutes, all the agendas, all the discussions that happen at every committee. So you have complete access as a councillor. It's 3 clicks away and you're there. So, and those are updated on a regular basis. And so as far as the information and the flow of information, basically what happens is an issue comes to council. It gets, if it doesn't get dealt directly at council, it gets referred to a specific committee, depending, or a number of committees if it's faceted. The committees discuss what they have to discuss, make a decision. I should say, they don't make a decision, they make a recommendation. No decisions are made at committee level. Council can only make decisions by resolution or bylaw. Committees can only make recommendations. So an issue goes to a committee, they make a recommendation to mayor and council, it comes to the agenda, we vote on it either by resolution or bylaw. That's the flow of information. And then it's also made in, we're covered by Shaw, thank you very much, Paul. We're covered by the Citizen and the radio as well. And so there's media that reports all of the information that's going on to, within council. Thank you.
Thank you, Krista, for that question. Let's talk about committees. Committees take minutes. Minutes are not improved until the committee meets again the following 2 weeks or month later. So in the meantime, if a councillor hasn't had the opportunity to be at that meeting, there's a large time frame there where minutes aren't being shared, so you can't see what's happening or do some homework ahead of time. As for agendas and minutes being available online, many times I've had to go to the regular website to get some of the information I require to do my homework as a councillor. And I believe that that's inadequate. We need to be more thorough, we need to be more precise and on time. That has got to be the most important thing about making any decision, is you got to have all the facts. The facts has to be provided. Every meeting should have minutes taken. No meeting should ever happen where it's just informal and only the people present know what happened. That's not proper. Not every councillor, and I want to make sure that is very clear, not every councillor has the opportunity to be at every meeting. And we have to make sure that that is documented so they can see what's going on. They can take care into what they're doing. As for decisions not made at committee levels, I beg to differ. I have to disagree with Dennis. At many times, Finance and Admin makes decisions and it doesn't go to council. We've had the DRC make decisions, it doesn't go to council. There are many times where the format is not followed. We have a procedural bylaw. I don't know who was watching council meeting on Monday, but the agenda was not provided till past 10 o'clock Monday. And that's not proper. That's not the way to do things. Thank you.
All right, one last question, and then we'll have the closing remarks.
Good afternoon, Anita Campbell. I want to wish you both luck in your election, and I want to thank you for putting things forward. One of the questions that I had, and actually I watched it on Monday, I'm not sure if I'm one of the only ones, but I try to watch as much as I can. One of the questions that I had, and I'm going to bring people back to probably about 4 or 5 years ago, if not more, when the Wasquattam Dam was being built, and the influence that that had in our community, and it wasn't a positive one. We went through a series of social issues, I'll say, in our community. And one of the things I've often wondered is how come mayor and council did not be more aggressive in trying to meet with the then Bob Brennan, the now Scott Thompson, with Hydro, to have Hydro invest in our community and trying to address some of the issues that have been caused by those dams. So now kiosk is being built, and so the question becomes is what is your plan to try to get Hydro to invest in our city? Because people may think that they have no influence or it has no influence on us, but yet where do they go to get to those locations? They have to come through Thompson. So I've often wondered how come we weren't more aggressive in getting Manitoba Hydro to invest in our community, whether it was infrastructure, whether it was programming, whether it was services, whether it was resources that they would be providing to the city. So I'm wondering what your plan is moving forward.
Thank you, Anita, for that question. This is a very good question. Transparency, that comes to mind. When there were discussions about this, they came to council. There's not much information provided. Actually, I attended one of those meetings. And how can I put it? They have a budget they follow, and they are more concerned about the bottom dollar than they are how they're gonna affect the communities. So when they actually started the project, they just recently got their licensing to actually be building. They started the process already. Kanawapa is already being developed. A lot of people don't know that. They have already started developing the land for Kanawapa. They don't have permission yet. The clarity of what they do is behind closed doors. They don't want public involvement. And when we find out about these things, that's we as a council and as a leader of the council, we should be demanding that say, hey, listen, you are coming through our community to build your dams. You are destroying our roads through our communities. You are not helping our infrastructure. You are not helping our economy grow and prosper by giving the business to somebody down south that comes there, lives there for the contract, and moves elsewhere. That's not helping us in the north. And when you talk about being profitable for the north, no, this is profitable for Hydro, which is a crown corporation, and that's what they are concerned about. They really don't care what happens in the outcome. The fallout, that's somebody else's problem. So thank you very much, Anita, for bringing that up.
Thank you for the question, Anita. I think with the Hydro relationship with the City of Thompson goes back quite a ways to the Churchill diversion and the environmental license, or the interim environmental license that was signed off with the city and Hydro. You're right, there needs to be more discussion in regards to the economic impact that the dam development has on our community. We are through administration discussing with Hydro continuing effects of the Burnwood River. We're seeing the sloughing on the shorelines. We're also looking at the social impact of our community and the impact of having workers come into our community. There is the upside is the benefit of commerce, that people are flowing through and spending money in our community, but there is a downside as well. And so we need to continue to discuss with Hydro. We need to be more aggressive than in the past. We weren't aggressive enough in when they developed their plant or their yard south of town, which didn't really help us. It's in the LGD. We don't get any taxes from that. So we need to look at things like that. But I think over the next 4 years, we'll see more engagement with Manitoba Hydro from the City of Thompson perspective and also from the region's perspective. I know Mayor Johnson was in supportive of the highway destruction around the Split Lake and voiced his concern as well at the provincial level that need to be rectified. And I know that they, through the roadblock, finally got some resolve and some direction that the Hydro would work towards that and the province would work towards that. So that's the role that the City of Thompson can play. And we'll look at holding Hydro accountable within our community. Thank you.
Thank you very much. All right, we did quite well. Thank you, candidates, for keeping your answers to 2 minutes or under. So we'll now hear the closing remarks, and Dennis will begin with you.
Thanks, Tom. Again, I want to thank the Chamber of Commerce for hosting this event, and also to the Mamaweetuck Center for providing the facility, Tom for being the moderator, and also Luke for coming in and standing as a candidate for mayor. Again, I'm going back to my opening words. The reason I'm here and will be here, hopefully, for the next 4 years is about leadership. It's all about leadership, and we've had some questions in regards to that will require leadership and strong decisions. You need to make that decision and move forward. So I'm looking forward to that. We will have predominantly half the new council. I believe my experience, 19 years with the City of Thompson, my community experience since 1961, my community involvement in working with all of the organizations, my current position and the expertise I have in that will lead to helping council get through the difficult times. And there will be difficult decisions to make, but ones that have to be made. We have to make a decision. We have to deal with Valley and the water treatment plant, the ownership of that plant, and the production of water. We need to deal with the wastewater treatment plant. It's a major investment. $36 million, 12 of which is our share. We need to deal with those issues. We need to continue to deal with infrastructure, as we're seeing around town. The paving crews are here finally, but that's the type of development, $3.2 million of non-property tax. That started 2 years ago. We didn't pay any property tax for that development you're seeing going on. That's from federal government, provincial government, from Valley and other grants. That's not property tax. Property tax goes to operational costs. That's what we need to maintain. We need to maintain this momentum. I feel it. You should feel it.
20 seconds.
We've turned the corner, I believe, and moving forward. Most recently with the Valley announcement of 5 years. That's 5 years stability. That's the term of this council. We should be able to get things done. Thank you. I look forward to your support on October 22nd.
Thank you, Tom. And I'd like to thank everybody for coming out today. It is a great opportunity for you to voice your opinions and ask your questions and hear what we have to say about what you're thinking. I'd like to thank Dennis for coming out today also, and Tom for being our moderator. And again, I would like to thank the Chamber for putting this on for all of you, right, to hear what we have to say. We got to remember, I hear the same concerns everywhere. Downtown strategy, what are we doing about it? The homeless shelter, what are we doing about it? Increases in taxes, what are we doing about it? A lot of people have a lot of the same concerns. The water treatment plant, that is something that the province, Valley, and the city, which are all signatories on, need to come to the table. There has to be more participation by the province to make sure that this asset, this valued asset to our community, drinking water is a necessity of life, that it's done properly and it doesn't impact every citizen of this community to the point where I can't wait to get out of Thompson. I can't wait to get out of this place where I'm being taxed to death. I've had enough. I hear it all the time. We got to make sure that we're viable and we want people to retire in Thompson. We need seniors housing in our community. We need people to be able to afford living in this community on a fixed income.
20 seconds.
We cannot afford to keep raising the taxes and raising cost of living where people just can't come here. It's not attractive anymore. We have to make it attractive again. 60 years ago, Thompson became a community, and it's a thriving community. If we want to keep it a thriving community, we got to work hard, sharpen our pencils, and remember on October 22nd, if you want the same or more, you vote for my opponent. If you want change,
Okay.
you vote for me. Thank you very much.
Thank you. So that brings our noon hour to a close. If you don't look too closely at the clock, it's a little bit about 1:15. So thank you for hanging in. Ozzy, did you want to say anything else? We will be back next week for the councillors, and thank you. And make sure you vote. If nothing else, make sure you vote.